Michigan takes on Penn State on Thursday. This is a rematch from the game earlier this year where Michigan won 74-72 in a game that Michigan could have lost. Penn State had an opportunity at the end of the game to win. Obviously, the three did not go for Penn State. It wasn't a very good possession whatsoever, but in that game, Caden Mingo did not play at all. It was really Jurek that was kind of the main guy for Penn State. Jurek and DeLeon. It was those two guys that were really the key contributors in that game. Also, Reed as well, coming off the bench, performed really well. But Mingo is going to be a huge, huge matchup in this one because this was a game, obviously, prior that was competitive, right? Now, do I think this is going to be a competitive game at Chrysler? No, I don't. I don't think this will be as close as it was at Penn State because this is something that I've talked about in the past with Penn State. I think Penn State is a team that truly is scrappy at home. You've seen teams go into Penn State this year and even in the past play really kind of competitive games, and then obviously when they go home, they're able to pretty much dominate. I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this one. I think Michigan's playing really well right now. Yaxel obviously isn't shooting the three super well, coming off of a really good performance against Michigan State. Elliot Cadeau is going to be a huge part of it as well. It's going to truly be reliant on what can Penn State do shooting the ball because this is a Penn State team that shoots the ball 33% from three. This is also a Penn State team that turns the ball over 10 times. Now, is this the most dangerous Penn State team that we've seen recently? No, I don't think whatsoever, but they still have players on this team that can hit shots. They still have players that can score bucket. Mingo averages 14 points a game. DeLeon averages almost 14 points a game. Reed coming off the bench averages 10. Jurek, I already specifically mentioned him in the first matchup. He had the 20 points, the leading scorer in the last matchup, averages 9.4 points per game. Like these are guys that can score. I don't think that this is a Penn State team that is that great though. And truly, really the biggest kind of difference maker of that Penn State game that they had earlier this year against each other is that Penn State had 23 free throw attempts compared to 19. Penn State didn't shoot the ball well from three, but Michigan didn't either. And then really, if you look at rebounded, Penn State out-rebounded Michigan by 6. That's going to be a huge, huge part of this as well. Points off turnovers is going to be a big part of it as well. Penn State had 17 compared to 8. Fast break points, Michigan completely dominated in that section of the really kind of game. So I think it's going to be about shot making. I think obviously getting Mingo back will be helpful. For Penn State, I think he's going to be a guy that obviously has been performing well when he's played this year. He's played 19 games this year. He's coming off of a 14-point game against Minnesota, 15-point game against Northwestern the week prior. Obviously, a couple other games prior to that, not great. I think Penn State's really going to need a really good performance from Mingo in this one to kind of give them a chance. But obviously, when you're on the road for Penn State against a Michigan team that is number 2 team in the country, rightfully so, going back home to Chrysler after a really big rivalry win, that's going to be difficult. Now, obviously, there's still the whole idea of coming off of a rivalry win. There's a little bit of a high of that, not trying to come down after that game. I don't think Michigan's going to do that. I think Dusty May is going to get this Michigan team ready. I think Michigan will do a better job on the offensive rebound and defensive rebound as a whole. I would be kind of surprised if Penn State out-rebounded Michigan in this one, especially because if you look at the Michigan State game, Michigan State is known as one of the best rebounding teams, especially offensive rebounding teams in the entire country. They basically evened out there. I don't think that this is going to be a game that Penn State's going to win, and I think it's going to be maybe a little bit rough at the beginning, kind of coming off of a win against Michigan State. But if you're talking about confidence, if you're talking about playing style, if you're talking truly about like a team going into this game that is playing about as best as you can, especially right now. Now, obviously, Michigan really early on in the season played very well. But if you're talking about a team that's playing pretty well going into this game, I definitely think Michigan is one of those teams. Now, I do think Michigan's going to have to protect the ball. Mingo's really good at getting his hands on the ball. He forces about couple of turnovers a game typically. Obviously, taking care of the ball is going to be a big part. Shooting, I don't think is necessarily going to be the biggest concern because we've seen Michigan win games when shooting hasn't been very well It's going to truly be about what is this game going to be like at the end of it? Is it going to be a close game? If it's a close game, this Penn State team has figured out ways to lose those games, and Michigan has figured out ways to win those games. So at the end of the day, I truly don't think that there's really a way that Michigan loses this game, to be completely honest with you. Obviously, there is a way, but there's a reason why Michigan only has one loss this season. I think Michigan's extremely prepared for almost every single game. I just don't think that this Penn State team has enough to go into Chrysler and win. I just don't. Even with Mingo, Delia, and Reed, Jurek, I think if all those guys perform well, there's a really big chance, but you're going to have your 3 or 4 best guys perform well in this game to truly beat this Michigan team. And they got some performances last time from Delia and Jurek. Reed was decent as well. If you can kind of get those performances from those guys, they stay out of foul trouble. Penn State wins the offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding battle. Yeah, no, there's a real possibility. Penn State could go into Chrysler. The one loss Michigan has had this year is at Chrysler, so it's not like they haven't lost there. But with all that being said, I still don't think that this is a game that Michigan loses. I think Michigan ends up winning this game by probably double digits at this point. Would it surprise me if it was a little bit closer than that? No, not necessarily, to be completely honest with you. But I think at the end of the day, I would be more surprised if Penn State makes this a game that comes down to last possession than it did at Penn State, because that doesn't necessarily surprise me too much. Even though Michigan's playing well, Penn State has forced really good teams to get down to last possession. Did it against Michigan, did it against Michigan State. But at the end of the day, this is Chrysler. This is going to be a place that has been difficult to go into, and this is a number 2 team in the country. But whatever happens, I obviously talk about, I'll recap it. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Going to be a little bit of a shorter one. I just don't think there's a ton to talk about in this matchup. Jurek, Mingo, Reed, Dilian are kind of like the main guys from Penn State. And obviously this is a Penn State team that is 12-10 on the year. They're not going to be a team that is going to be anywhere close to competing in the Big Ten. They haven't been competing in the Big Ten. They're one of the worst teams in the Big Ten as a whole. So this should be a game where Michigan dominates. This should be a game where Michigan wins, and you just don't apologize for it at all. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you tune in to the recap as well as I discuss this game after it happens.